emotions a lot, and I think it's really important to reawaken that sense of sacred world. I hope you can hear me okay. It's saying that my internet connection isn't very good. I'm not sure why, so hopefully you can hear me. Will someone let me know if you can hear me for a sec before I start? Okay, thank you. All right, so I just want to make sure that you all have your water, and there's nothing to do with it right now. Just have it here, and don't drink this water right now. This water is for the ritual. So thank you so much for telling me that. I really appreciate it. Last time, some of you may have been in my session 2 weeks ago, and I got booted out. And when I came back in, the whole thing was so funny. I just had a laughing attack and couldn't really get through what I was trying to do. But thankfully, I got back into the session, but hopefully that won't happen today. So anyway, at some point now, or better to get it now than once we start our session, just have some water with you, and just keep it to the side. You can have other water to drink, but this is water for our ritual. So welcome, and so I'm going to begin with an invocation, which is what how I always start my programs. And if you haven't been to any of my programs, my name is Carrie Grossman, and I'm a singer, a devotional singer, and I love music, and I think that music, sacred music in particular, music, devotional music, or music using mantras, which are sacred sounds that were gifted to humanity from the rishis, the great seers of India, who heard the sounds in their meditations. They gifted these sounds to us, and so they're like a sacred technology. And when we use them, they help to cleanse our heart and awaken our consciousness. So, and I just feel so blessed to be able to share this music and these practices with you. And so I always begin with an invocation just to offer my gratitude to my teachers that I've had, many teachers throughout time, throughout the last 25 years or so that I studied with, and just all of the teachers in my life and in all of our lives. It's just a way of acknowledging that and asking for blessings, that this session may bring each one of us exactly what we need in this moment, in this time in our lives. So that's my prayer in offering this invocation, is just that each of us may receive what we need in this time. And it's so special that we can all be together from all over the world to do this, and it really touches my heart, especially this program in particular, because this program is also, it's for us, but it's also for nature. And I really believe that when we join together with a collective intention, it has benefits beyond what we can see with our mind, with our eyes. And nature is so in need of our love and our prayers. So I'm really happy that we can be together from all around to do this together. So the session will be about 90 minutes. I just like to give as much time as I can so we can really go deep and use this time as much as possible. So please stay as long as you can, and thank you for being here. So I'm going to begin with the invocation. It's in Sanskrit, so you probably won't understand it. The first one is a prayer to my guru, Amma, my spiritual teacher. The second one is an excerpt, just the first verse of a very sacred prayer known as the Guru Padaka Stotram, and that honors the wisdom of our teachers. So it's going to sound echoey for a second with a reverb. Just use this moment to arrive. Probably you haven't traveled far, since none of us are going anywhere. Bring your mind and body together in the same place. Mind and body are usually in separate places. So bring them back. And allow this moment of time to just be a space where you can just become open and receptive to whatever you're needing in this time. You've chosen to be here. So bring your full mind and heart here. And we'll join all of our hearts together from all over the world. Snigdha Pangavido Kimi Bhagavati Nandasmida Srimaki Vatsayam Natavarshivim Sumatoram Sankirtana Lapuni Shamangim Madhusita Suti Amritanandatmika Ishwari Om Amriteshwari Namaha Om Amriteshwari Namaha Om Amriteshwari Namaha Ananta Samsara Samudratara Naukaitabhyam Guru Bhakti Dabhyam Vairagya Samhanjata Pujanabhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam Namo 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 Breathe in, just hold it for a moment, and just breathe out and release through your whole body. Thank you. So, today is a celebration of spring and the equinox. Actually, the official equinox was yesterday, but I wasn't able to do the session yesterday. So we're honoring it today. And this is the vernal equinox, the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, and of course it's the autumn equinox in the southern hemisphere. So honoring both. For those of us in the northern hemisphere, this is a time of the return of the light. And the equinox, if you don't know, is the time when day and night are equally balanced. So there's equal daylight and equal night. And it's the sun is directly above the equator. So when the spring equinox is happening in the northern hemisphere, the sun is right above the equator and it's beginning its ascent above the equator, which is why we're getting more light now. And then it will shift again back the other way. So this is just a very special time. It only happens twice a year. We have equinoxes and we have solstices. The solstice, the summer solstice is the longest day of the year with the most light, and the winter solstice is the shortest day of the year with the least amount of light. And the equinoxes are the balance points where everything is even. So I think these times are like portals, where we have an opportunity to connect with the rhythms of nature. And I really am so fascinated by just the way that the world has evolved. And in ancient times, we can still find today all over the world sacred sites and structures that were built through some magic that I none of us nobody really actually knows for sure how many of these sacred sites were built, but they were created, many of them with perfect alignments for the equinoxes and sometimes the solstice. So, for example, Stonehenge. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Stonehenge in the UK, and Chichen Itza in Mexico, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, um, the temples in Malta. It goes on and on. All of these, they're different points on the earth where, and some of them thousands of years old. Um, it's the Menandra temples in Malta were built around 3500 BCE approximately, and those prehistoric temples, nobody knows exactly how they were built, but the inner chambers of those temples only receive the light on the equinoxes and the solstices. It's really quite amazing. So actually, as I was reminding myself and familiarizing myself with many of these sacred places, I started just going down the YouTube rabbit hole. I'm sure some of you know the YouTube rabbit hole. It's like you start watching one thing and then like hours later you're like watching something that had nothing to do with that. Who knows how you even got there? But that's what happened. I started watching all these videos about the mysteries of the planet, and it's just things that it blew my mind actually, because even though many of us know about these types of places that have been built in harmony with the cosmos, but when you really start to look into it deeply, it's completely mind-blowing. The Egyptian pyramids, for instance, how these things were built. Of course there's different theories and philosophies about it, but nobody seems to really know exactly how these things went down or went up. But Angkor Wat in Cambodia, for example, incredible temple complex, and the center, the temple, the on the equinoxes, the sun is just sits right above the top. It's just really amazing. I started watching and reminding myself of Easter Island. I wonder if any of you have heard about it, but it's one of the most far out places in in the world. It's about a 5 hour plane ride from Santiago, Chile, as far as I understand. And it's just a very remote island. But on this island, there are these statues all over the island called moai. And maybe you've seen them. They're like huge rock faces. But actually, it turns out they're not just faces. When archaeologists started digging down, they found that these big faces actually had bodies deep into the earth. And what's completely insane about it really is that nobody really has any idea how these big stone statues that I guess are made out of volcanic tuff, and they were moved miles over the island, and some of them are 30 or more tons, and they can be up to like 80, 90 feet high. Nobody knows how these dudes were moved around. It's mind blowing. And most of them that are all over the island are facing inland, facing inward towards the island. But there are seven of them, from my understanding, that are identical in one area of the island that face out towards the ocean. And these stone people that face out towards the ocean, they align exactly with the equinox. When the equinox comes, they're staring directly at the equinox, at the sun. So it's just incredible. We could go on and just keep talking about this because it's just mind blowing and fascinating how ancient people, without our modern technology, for all we know, they had technologies that were way more advanced than we have now, but they created these civilizations, and many of them were in complete incredible alignment with different astronomical events. It's just amazing to me. I can't get over it. And that just shows how these times, the equinox, the solstice, things like that, are very special and sacred, and they've been honored for millennia by people throughout time. And I know that we have so much to learn from the indigenous people from all over the world. Indigenous people have great wisdom to offer us, and we really are in need of their wisdom. And need to hear their voices and honor them. And I've been really fortunate to study with have different Indigenous teachers in my life, and I feel just so grateful for what I learned from them. In recent years, I've been studying quite a lot with Tayuna people, who are the Indigenous people from the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta in Colombia. And I won't go too much into that, maybe a little bit later, but the Mamos and the Zagas are the spiritual leaders of the Tayuna people. And their whole work, their entire civilization, which is an ancient civilization, is all about maintaining the balance on Earth by through doing rituals and offerings to pay back to the Earth. Because really we really exploit the earth. We do not honor the earth, and it's so clear that things are out of balance. And I think that's one reason why the equinox is such an important time to reflect on, because the equinox is about balance, and it's an inquiry. It's an opportunity for us to question and look into this theme of balance in our life, personally and also collectively. Obviously, things are way out of balance. We only need to look at nature to see that. I just talked to a friend of mine in Sydney, Australia, the other day, and she was telling me that there's just terrible rains there, terrible flooding happening, and of course we know that there were fires previously. So that's just one example. Hurricanes, these things are happening all over. And even my spiritual teacher Amma, she often says that nature and the human mind are very agitated. And I resonate with what she says so much, because I do think that the inner and the outer are mirror reflections. So what we see happening in the world is no different from what is going on within our own minds. Things are way out of balance. And so the equinox is metaphorically anyway, symbolically, an opportunity for us to just look and see, where may things be out of balance in the world, in my own life, in my own mind, in my own heart. you know what's happening? Do I have balance, in terms of inner reflection and outer action, between work and play? In my relationships, is there balance? Am I always giving, or am I always taking, or does it feel like a mutual flow between the people in my life? I mean, these are just things to think about when it comes to balance. And I think that theme is really important, definitely is for me. I'm very aware of times of feeling really out of balance. And I think with this pandemic, now we've come around to about a year, or over a year actually, since it started, and everything is just incredibly out of balance. We're not living, you know, in a way that feels good for most of us. These lockdowns and not being able to connect with each other, and it's very challenging. And so there's a lot of imbalance going on. But I think we have a lot to learn from history, and from many different cultures around the world that honor the sacred, that honor nature, and that understand that this world is not just a commodity. Part of what happened is, with the Industrial Revolution and these different things that went down, the rise of Newtonian physics, which basically said that this world is like a clock and we're here to like control it and manipulate it, and Industrial Revolution, which kind of got us moving like machines, that we're just here to like manufacture things and produce things. And we lost, through those different waves that have happened through history, we've lost a sense of reverence and connection to the natural world. And I think we all feel that. We all do feel that, even if we don't think that it has anything to do with our connection to nature. I think it very much does. At one time, I remember I was in India at my teacher's ashram, and somebody asked a question about depression. And I don't remember the specific question, but it was something about, how do I work with depression, or I don't know why I'm depressed or something. And her response was something about how, nature is out of balance, which at the time I thought that was kind of a strange answer. But when I reflected on it, she said more than that, but that really stuck with me. And I realized that it's true. What we're doing to our planet absolutely affects our mind, our heart, and what we're doing to ourselves affects the planet. So it's a mirror relationship. So how do we restore balance? What do we do? Obviously, it's so important to take steps towards living more sustainably with a lighter footprint, and do all the things that many of us know are important to do to take care, to be good stewards of our earth. But I feel that there's an inner change and an outer change that's needed. And when we live in a society, in a culture that is constantly telling us that the planet is just here for us to take and to exploit, and we never have to give back, that kind of brainwashes us. And we need to restore a sense of understanding that this planet is not just like a marketplace to just take whatever we want. It's a living being, and we are part of this living being. We're all a part of it. It's not something that's other or out there. It's actually a part of us, and in fact our own body is also that. So how to restore a sense of that reverence for this planet, so that we can really take care of it. I think we have to allow our minds to be blown again. And I've said this in previous rituals that I've led, but it sounds kind of silly. It's like, what do you mean you have to let your mind be blown? But I actually think it's true. If you actually really look at nature and spend time in nature, it can't help but completely blow your mind. Just like all these things I was talking about regarding the pyramids and all these archaeological sites. When you start to think about it, your mind just snaps in half. It doesn't make any sense. How did these things happen? In the same way, nature is constantly mesmerizing us and doing things that we can't have any understanding of. And because we've sort of made it this mechanized thing that we can just take from and do whatever we want from, we've lost a sense of that awe, And when you have awe and reverence for something, you have respect for it and you have humility, you know? And so I think it's really important that we reawaken a sense of that reverence for the earth, a sense of that awe, so that we feel respect for her. We treat her with love, and and as well with ourselves. It's a symbiotic relationship. So that's part of the reason why I think these rituals are important, not just because it's an opportunity for us to connect with water, for example. I mean, there's lots of different types of rituals we could do, but it gives us a chance to connect with the element of water, and also to take something that we may, not think much about, and it's a part of our everyday life in every way, and to realize this is an incredible thing. I don't even know what this is, but I actually can't live without it. So let me feel a sense of devotion and reverence for this, and the more we do it, the more it begins to change our brain, really. And we can start to see the world differently. And when we have that sense of reverence and sacredness for what is, it will change our behavior, hopefully, anyway. That's my feeling about it. So those are some of the themes, of the equinox. And of course, this time of year is also really a time of new beginnings and redemption. If you think about all the different holidays that are happening, the Persian New Year, Passover, Easter, Ostara, the Wiccan holiday to the goddess of fertility, spring goddess. There's so many things that are going on, and the energy of this time is very potent. And it's also the beginning of the astrological new year. So when the sun enters Aries, it's the beginning of a new cycle. So technically, this is astrologically, anyway, if you follow the tropical system of astrology, this is the beginning of a whole new year as well on the equinox. So there's a lot going on. And all of us have been, going through this pandemic and in whatever sort of hibernation we've been going through. And there's no way, that we aren't all, hopefully anyway, learning something, reflecting on things, having this time. Yes. There are times when I feel like a little nervous about the pandemic ending. Not that I want it to go on, but there's a part of me that thinks sometimes, gosh, what's going to happen if the world just opens? Is everybody going to just like blow out like a canyon and just start running to the airports and doing all this stuff? And there's a part of me that just feels like, let's go slow, because we need to take care of this planet, and this planet has been giving us messages. And if we just jump right back to this kind of consumer mode of like, taking everything, buying things uselessly, and not directing our energy in a way that is, loving, then we could find ourselves in another situation. So I have that feeling sometimes that, I hope that the world can somehow emerge mindfully from this, but I don't know. Ultimately, it's each of our own responsibility to do that. So the better question is, how can I do that? Instead of looking outside, it's like always want to look in the magnifying glass, but it's better to look in the mirror. But anyway, that's a question I just am sitting with within myself. What have I learned from this time? And as the spring returns and it's a time of new beginnings and new light coming in, what am I or what are you? What is up for you? What has come up for you from this pandemic, from the last year or the last 6 months? What have you been working with in your life? What are you needing? What are you longing for? What are the themes or the energies that are present for you? That's what we will work with today in the ritual and with the support of, of nature. So it turns out that Monday, or tomorrow actually, is World Water Day, which is a very auspicious coincidence. Um, we are really having a global water crisis in this world. I read a statistic that something like 2.2 billion people in the world don't have safe water to drink, or even toilets or latrines. So the fact that many of us can just turn on our faucet and just get water to bathe or to drink is such a blessing. And many people suffer from diseases and things like that because of unhealthy water, unsafe water all over the world. And water is life. We really need to protect water and to recognize the sacredness of water. So that's also part of what we're going to be doing in this ceremony that we're doing. So I just wanted to read you um, something that I just thought was so beautiful as I was talking about the sacred sites in the world. Um, you know, I sometimes feel sad that like we've lost an understanding of the mystery of our being and the mystery of this world, and that the fact that there's so many things going on that we don't perceive. Even the human body alone, we're not just flesh and blood. There's just a lot more going on here. We have different bodies. There are different systems, esoteric systems that talk about this. You could talk about the aura, or you could talk about the different koshas, the sheaths of the body. I mean, there's so much to say about all of it, but we are multidimensional beings. And so, even though we may not be engaging in rituals to maintain harmony in the cosmos anymore, and even though we may not be building these, structures on the earth in the same way, we ourselves can become those sacred structures, so to speak. And I recently read something from a teacher that I really love named Llewellyn Vaughan Lee. Some of you may know him. He's a Sufi teacher, and I really love his work. And I just coincidentally read this. I wanted to read it to you because it was just so appropriate, and I love the message. So he says, as we silently work upon ourselves, the energy of our devotion becomes a point of light within the world. At the present time, a map is being unfolded, made of light, made of the lights of the lovers of God. The purpose of this map is to change the inner energy structure of the planet. In previous ages, this energy structure was held by sacred places, stone circles, temples, and cathedrals. In the next stage of our collective evolution, it is the hearts of individuals that will hold the cosmic note of the planet. This note can be recognized as a song of joy being born within the hearts of seekers. It is a quality of joy that is being infused into the world. It is the heartbeat of the world and needs to be heard in our cities and towns. I just love that so much. Just the idea that, in previous ages, that the energy structures were held by sacred places, but now it's within our hearts. And, whether you believe that's true or not, just the sentiment of it, I think, is so beautiful. And I really do believe that these sacred places and the true temples are within us, but yet there's also a benefit to being able to go to physical places and to offer our gratitude and to feel the energy, because there's ley lines on the planet, places on the planet where the energy gathers and is strong in a particular way. So that's why pilgrimage is so powerful. When we take pilgrimages, we can connect to that energy. But ultimately all of these things exist within us. So how do we find the pyramid within our hearts, so to speak, or how do we find whatever the sacred temples or sacred places? That is our own heart. So, and that's what the mystical teachings say. It's the mysticism is about having a direct experience of the mystery instead of, just having book knowledge about it or something in our head about it. It's about having a direct experience with the mystery, which can only happen within our own being. So, so that's what we're here to do. Yeah, thank you so much for your donation. I really appreciate it. Sometimes I'm not able to read the comments because I'm just focusing on what I'm sharing, but I feel you and see you, and I was just so grateful that we're all here together. It's really kind of amazing. So, I think that this time, of new beginnings, of spring, is a really helpful reminder that no matter what season of our life we may be in, even when we feel like we're in the darkest time, when things are really hard, the spring always comes. You can't stop it from coming. We can't stop the spring. We can't stop the light from returning. No matter what we may do, you can't go out and tell the buds not to, bloom because they're going to. You can't tell the sun to go back to the southern hemisphere because it's moving this way. And so I think that is a helpful thing to remember, that even in the times when we don't know how the light will return, and I myself have felt that at different points this year, is this feeling of just this darkness, or just this feeling of how are we going to get through this, or what is all of this? And but nature is a teacher, and nature is a reminder that the light always returns, and we can't stop it from coming. So in that way, how can we, put our trust and faith in the seasons of our life and the rhythms of our life, and attune ourselves to that, and know that whatever we may be going through, in ways we may not be able to understand, or even conceptualize, that the light will return. It will, for each one of us, maybe in different ways. But when we take time to do ritual together or to have these conversations, it's just a way of acknowledging that, and giving the light permission to enter our life. And I really resonate with that. Amma, my teacher, says that, when we need the permission of our own mind to be happy. And I think that's such a beautiful, powerful statement, that whenever we're doing anything, whatever it is, we need to give ourselves permission to be happy, or to love ourselves, or to receive blessings or whatever. Without our own permission of our own mind, then it's like, going to smell a flower and closing your nose. You can't enjoy the fragrance. So, as we do this ritual together, let's all give ourselves permission, to receive what we're needing, and know that we all deserve that. We're all worthy of that. That's what we're here for. The more that we can fill ourselves up with that joy that Llewellyn Von Lee was talking about, the more that we have to give to the planet, the more that that joy and that love spill out of us and benefit the creation. When you see iconography, of, for example, bodhisattvas in the Tibetan tradition, or different deities, these deities often, look like they're in bliss, and they're full of joy, and they're like, they are existing on the nectar of compassion, and you can see that in their image. And I think that's a really good teaching, because they're not all haggard and miserable, and feeling the suffering of the world on them. They look like they're really depressed. They actually are so full of love and joy that can't help but spill out of them to benefit beings. So it's a good reminder for us. Sometimes it's easy to think, oh, well, how could I be happy when the world is suffering? Or how could I love myself when this is going on? And I have those thoughts, a lot. Like, there's just incredible suffering in this world. So I think, how can, why is it okay for me to be happy when there's so much suffering? But actually, my suffering, adding more suffering to the suffering, doesn't help. It's my and your freedom and liberation and joy and compassion that is then something like a medicine that we can then give to the world. So it's so important to give that to ourselves, because it's not just for us. And the last thing I want to say before we start the ritual is that something that I've learned from the Tayuna, who I mentioned earlier, have been teachers of mine for a few years. Just a tiny short overview. The Tayuna consist of 4 tribes. the Wiwa, Conquamo, Arhuaco, and Kogi people, and they live in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta in Colombia, and they're one of the only surviving pre-Columbian civilizations in the world. When the Spanish came to Colombia, they retreated way far up in the mountains, and they essentially escaped colonization to the best of their ability, and their ancestral traditions continue today in a very genuine and authentic way. And they are largely unknown because they don't really leave their ancestral territory. They're there as protectors of that land, and they do their whole lives are devoted to giving offerings to the land and to help balancing out nature. And I happened to meet them years ago because some of them came through. Some of the spiritual leaders came through the area where I live, and I just felt a really very strong connection with them, and was able to invite them to come back, and I hosted them uh, for about 10 days, and then after that spent more time with them in the next couple of years, and was really fortunate to get to know them and learn from them very intimately, and continue to be just completely blown away by the work that these people are doing on the earth. They're every moment of their lives, every second is devoted to nature, and they really believe that nature is out of balance because all we're doing is taking, and we're not giving back. We're not expressing our gratitude, or we're not even apologizing or acknowledging the earth when we hurt her. That doesn't work in a relationship. It's like if you hurt someone in a relationship and you just try to put it away and just pretend that that issue didn't happen, it doesn't work that well. There's always like a little something there between you. There needs to be like some kind of healing and reconciliation. In the same way in our relationship with the earth, it's she's a living being, and we have done so much to the earth. To at least acknowledge that is important, and that's something that I've learned from them. But one of the things that have taught that really affected me, and I have their permission to share about this. I asked them if it was okay for me to share about my experiences with them because I didn't want to just do it not knowing if it was okay, but they said it was okay. So um, that they use music, ancestral music, as a way to communicate with the land. And when they go anywhere, their connection to nature is so different from anything that we can understand. Um, Mamos are the male spiritual leaders, and they're essentially chosen through divination. And many of the mamos, from the time that they're born, um, spend the first 9 years and sometimes even up to 18 years in the darkness, and they're taken into a dark cave or something where they're educated by the elder mamos. The mother breastfeeds them. They don't go into the light for years, and it's really quite unique. And one of the reasons for this is because being in the darkness, they can attune their consciousness to the planet. And so what they feel and understand about nature is not something at all that we can comprehend. They could see a rock and they read it like an archive, like a library, or communicate with water. One of the mamos that I spent quite a bit of time with, Mamo Senchina, he has a very close relationship with water, and he really can speak to water and understand water and relate to water, understand what's going on with water. I think I told the story once, and I'm going way too deep into this now. I'm sorry, but I just want to finish this thought before we start the ritual. One time I was with them, and they were offering a retreat at a retreat center that has a big lake, and this lake was closed because there was some kind of I don't know what it was, like almost like a moss or something that was growing on top of the lake, but it wasn't safe to swim in it. And we went down to the lake, and when they communicated with the lake, they found out that this was a very sacred lake. They were explaining that there's many different types of lakes and bodies of water on the earth, and they have different purposes. But this particular lake was an extremely sacred lake and was very sacred to the native people, the First Nations people that lived there before. And over time, that lake had become desecrated, and people had forgotten its sacred nature and had just, you know, jumped in it and done things in it without acknowledging, who she is, who this lake is. And as a result of that, she got angry, she got hurt, but nobody was seeing her, nobody was acknowledging her. And so this sort of film grew on top of the lake. And when we first went down to the lake, I remember thinking, well, the lake, she must be sick. Something's wrong. And then the mama said, no, she's not sick. She's angry and she's hurt because nobody's acknowledging her. So she's covering herself. It's like if someone really hurts you and they don't acknowledge it, after a while, you just think, just go away, just go away. Just don't look at me. I'm just going to hide myself. And so they were saying that's what the lake was doing. That she was so unacknowledged, her sacredness was so just desecrated that she just covered herself and just said, don't look at me, I'm gone. So that was such a powerful teaching. And then they did a very long ritual, which they referred to as a pagamento, which means payment. They communicated, to the lake and acknowledged her. Anyway, it's a whole story about that. But what I was going to share is one of the things that they've taught is that our emotions have an impact on nature. And so when we feel happy or when we can think about nature with love in our hearts, that really has a beneficial impact on nature. Whereas when our minds are very tumultuous and we're really angry or really whatever we may be, that also affects nature. We tend to think like this body is just it, but actually this body is like a part of the atmosphere. It's a part of the earth. So why do we think that our thoughts and emotions just like stay within this little confines? Like they come out. That's why when you see somebody who's really angry or really upset or really happy, like you kind of get like a quick sense like, oh, you're doing really well today, or are you okay? Or we can feel each other. So we affect the atmosphere, we affect nature. So when we do practice like what we're going to do today, and we offer our hearts and we let go of everything that's burdening us, and then we fill ourselves with love and with goodness, it doesn't only benefit us, but it affects the atmosphere. And it's the same thing for mantras. A mantra, it means an instrument of the mind. And man is the mind. Tra, it has different meanings. It could mean to cross over or to protect. So a mantra is something that helps us go beyond our mind. And it also protects our mind from itself. But a mantra is something, when we listen to mantras, it's not only doesn't only benefit us, but it purifies the atmosphere. So that's why if you just listening to mantras, it purifies the atmosphere. So that's the benefit of all of what we're going to do today after I just talked for 44 minutes. Thank you for staying with me. Okay, so we're going to begin our ritual now. I just want to make sure for any of you who've come in a little bit late that you have a glass of water or some water with you. And don't drink it just yet because we're going to use it for the ritual. So if you haven't done this ritual with me before, we're going to begin with just a little meditation and purification. And then we will sing to the water, to our water. The mantra that I always like to use for this practice, I always tend to use the same one, which is Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. All of these mantras defy the intellectual comprehension. We can't really understand them because they exist in a place that's beyond the mind. But just to talk about it just gives our mind a little something to hold on to. But Shiva is the pure consciousness or the indwelling awareness within each of us. And there are many different manifestations of Shiva and ways to talk about Shiva. But when we say Om Namah Shivaya, essentially we're saying, I bow down to the consciousness within you, within myself. I honor that great source, within me. And Shiva is also the energy of transmutation. And so we can work with all of that. When we sing to the water, it's essentially like we're purifying the water so that any thought forms or anything that have affected the water become clarified and purified, and the water itself is, you could think of it just like pure consciousness. So once we clear it and it becomes this pure consciousness, then what happens when you have a blank piece of paper? You can write whatever you want on it. So we have this beautiful glass of consciousness, so to speak. And when we meet it with our awareness and with our heart, we can fill that with whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you need. That is, and then after we do that, will imbibe it together. And you can drink it all now or save some for later, but that's how the ritual will work. And so I'll guide us through a meditation when we get to that point. So when I sing Om Namah Shivaya, you can sing with me, or you can just listen, and I'll instruct at just different points to just, you can hold your water at different moments when I invite you to, if you want to, and just imagine that the words or the vibrations are going into the water, affecting the consciousness of the water. You know, everything is, I always say this because I think it's really true and important in these cynical times that we're living in, you know. Anything can be meaningful or stupid, and it only depends on one thing, and that's our mind. So everyone has a different experience based on, you know, the attitude that we bring to it. So let's all bring like love to it if we're here, you know. Let's bring that openness and just see what happens. You know, when we bring our heart to something, anything can happen. So okay, so we're gonna start. And some of you have told me that I use this track that I'm going to play sometimes when I do like a rest and receive program or whatever. So many people have said that they like it, so I'm going to use it here. It's called Return to Source by a group in Australia called One Tribe, and they said that it'd be okay. It's okay for me to use this. So I like this track a lot because it feels like it really grounds and connects to the earth. I didn't plug it in, sorry. I was wondering about that. There we go. Okay. Thank you so much for your attention, your patience, and listening. I'm really grateful. The context is important. So we're just going to begin by just taking these few minutes to just let everything that I've just said go. Just let it go down to the earth and just let it go. So find a comfortable place to be, a comfortable seat. If you want to lie down, you can, but you might want to hold your water at some point, in which case it would be good to sit up. So as I mentioned in the beginning, just bring your mind and body together in the same place. Whatever may be going on for you in your life, just allow yourself this little window of time to be here for yourself. Give yourself that permission to receive whatever you need. So we're going to begin by just doing a short practice breathing and imagining that we're calling all of our energy back to ourselves, because we tend to scatter our energy all over the place. Whenever we think about something, the mamos have told me that when you think about something, a part of you goes there. So we need to call our energy back, our power back from the places that we've left it, so that we can really fully be here for the experience. So just imagine, you can visualize it or feel or sense that all the parts of you are just coming back here to present time. We're going to breathe 3 times. And when you breathe in, just hold your breath for a moment. And then when you exhale, you're just going to imagine that you're releasing through every cell of your body. You're releasing everything that doesn't serve you anymore. You're even releasing any people, thoughts that don't belong to you, any things that you don't want to bring into the experience that we're entering into. So breathe in, hold for a moment, and then exhale through your whole body. And again, breathe in, hold, and then just exhale. You can imagine almost like smoke or whatever image works for you. If you're not visual, that's fine. You can just feel it. But just sense that any heaviness is just leaving. One more time. Breathe in. Hold. Exhale. I always like to do just a little cleansing motion. So you can rub your hands together, generating the heat. And as we do this part, this is just a way of generating heat and energy. And then with our intention, just we're going to sweep over our body 3 times and just imagine that any stagnant energy or anything that feels stuck is moving through, like you're just standing under a waterfall. Feel the heat generating in your hands. Just take a moment to just gently part your hands and feel the energy there between them. There is energy. And then keeping your awareness there on the energy, just clear your body. You can do it physically, or you can do it energetically around your body. Just imagine that you're just sweeping, clearing off anything. Shake it off. Oh, my ring just flew off. That's good. I don't need that. Okay. So now just become aware of yourself. Become aware that you're just with yourself and your energy is clarified. You're just here with you in your being. And just take a moment to just feel yourself sitting on the earth. Wherever we are, there are people here. We're all from all over the earth, but we're all on the same earth. So feel that connection to Mother Earth underneath you. We all have that connection to the earth, like almost like an umbilical cord going all the way down to the core of the earth. We just offer gratitude to the earth. Thank you for always being supportive and giving me so much. And as you breathe gently, you don't have to manipulate or change your breathing in any way, but as you breathe in, just imagine that the earth is breathing with you and the earth is expanding as you inhale. And she's contracting on the exhale, just following you. You and the earth are breathing together. And just let that go. Just bring your mind and your heart together. So we're going to sing Om Namah Shivaya. And we're going to just begin by singing this mantra to just connect to the sound current of this mantra. And then I'll invite you to hold your water. We're going to sing and send the vibration into the water. We're going to imagine that we're sending the love in our hearts and the sound not only to our glass of water, but to all the water in the world. I might sing also the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, which is a mantra for healing that removes our fear of death and brings healing to us. So I might sing that at some point. You'll know when I sing it. So let your mind merge with the music. Music is our mindfulness bell. So instead of watching our breath, coming back to our breath, you just come back to the music and let your mind just merge with the music. And once you catch on to the words, you can sing with me. It doesn't matter if you're a good singer or not, or you think of yourself as a singer. It's about feeling in your heart and just letting that sound out. Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om. Om Hari Om Tat Sat. Shivaya, Om Namah 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 Shivaya. Now you can just hold your glass of water in your hands if you're not already holding it. Just hold this water in your hands, and if you want, you can look at it or just connect to it with your attention. In your mind, just feel this water that has arrived in this glass for you. Whatever journey this water has taken into your glass, it's here, and this water will soon become a part of you. So we're going to sing Om Namah Shivaya to our water. Just imagine that as you sing this mantra, you listen to this mantra, that all the molecules of the water are being cleansed and purified by the sound. Just intend that with your imagination. Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. I'm going to sing the Mahamrityunjaya now. You can imagine that this mantra of healing is just filling the water, cleansing the water. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Vandana Mrityu Amritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Vandana Mrityu Amritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Vandhanam Mrityormukshiyam Amritat. Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Om Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Now we're going to extend our consciousness beyond this glass of water to all the waters of the earth. Just imagine all of the oceans, the rivers and the lakes, the streams and the marshes, the icebergs and the glaciers, all over the earth, the pools of water. And with our hearts joined from around the world, we just send our love to these waters of the earth. We're so sorry. We're so sorry that we haven't treated you with respect and love. Please forgive us. You give us so much. Please forgive us for neglecting you, not seeing you, not acknowledging you. Water, We love you, water. Thank you. Feel just in your heart a sense of gratitude for water. We'll sing Om Namah Shivaya to all the waters of the world. And just sense that all the waters are becoming clear, purified, flowing with light moving through them. And that all people on this earth may have access to clean water. Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Bring your awareness back to your cup, your glass of water. We're just going to chant Om into the water. Just imagine that the sound of Om is filling this glass of water. This water is just pure consciousness, pure light. Breathe in, hold for a moment, and exhale out. So now we're going to begin. You can hold your water in your hands if you're not already. Now we're all holding a glass of consciousness, purified water like a blank piece of paper, beautiful, clear water. All of the molecules have been cleansed and purified with our intention, our attention, and the sound of the mantra. And let's begin by offering a sincere apology to the water. Not only this water, but all the waters of the earth, as we did a few moments ago. Just to say, this water has arrived here for me. Thank you, and I'm really sorry for all the times that I just didn't acknowledge you, water, and thank you and respect you. I'm so sorry. You give me everything. You give me so much. You give me life. In fact, I am made of you. 70% of me is made of you. So as I say I'm sorry to you, water, I say I'm sorry to all the waters in my body that I've filled with negative thoughts, hurtful thoughts towards myself. May all the waters of my body also be cleansed, purified. So sorry for the ways that I've spoken to the waters within my body. I'm going to vow from here forward to talk to myself more kindly, so the waters within me are healthy and clear. Now we just offer our gratitude to the water. Thank you so much. By some incredible mystery, you've arrived here in this glass, in this time. And as you feel this water now, I invite you to just turn into your heart. In this equinox portal time, just tune into your heart. What's happening for you right now in your life? What do you need? What do you long for? Is there a quality, a word, an energy, an affirmation, a statement that is something that you need, that you want? What seeds would you like to plant in this beginning time of spring? What do you need to nurture in your life? Let go of? Maybe you have an image in your mind of something, or you see a color or a word, or maybe you don't even have any particular thoughts about it, just a feeling of love or trust, worthiness, confidence, whatever it is for you. Just let that energy, let that prayer, just really gather that into your mind until you become one pointed with that. And then imagine, when we imagine something, the visual cortex in our brain doesn't know whether it's real or imagined. So when we do this, it benefits us physiologically. To visualize joy and light, things that uplift our heart, that nurture and nourish us. Imagine that you're inscribing this onto the water. You can actually speak to your water. You might feel silly doing it, but that doesn't matter. Water has memory, water has consciousness, and it's alive. You can speak to the water, you can repeat a word over the water, a statement over the water, or you can simply intend with your mind that you're filling this glass of water with love, or whatever it is that you need. Until the water receives your prayer so deeply that you no longer feel that you're holding a glass of water, but you feel that you're holding a glass of blessings, that you can give yourself permission to experience and to receive. Feel how all of the molecules of this water are configuring themselves into this blessing for you, a glass of grace. And when you're ready, you can slowly begin to drink the water. You can just have one sip, or you can drink many sips. But as you drink, do it as a meditation. Feel the path that the water travels as it becomes a part of your being. That this blessing is no longer outside of you in a glass, but actually it's merged with you, it's become a part of you. And as you drink it, every cell of your being awakens and fills with this prayer, with this light for yourself. You may notice that the water tastes different. As we bring our attention to something as simple as water, we realize that it's something deeply sacred that nourishes us in ways that we don't usually think about. So we can feel that reverence and that deep respect for this element, and ask that this love, in whatever form each of us needs and wants it, that it may benefit all the waters of our body and all the waters of the earth. This is one way to restore a sense of a connection to the being that is Mother Earth. She's our mother. We're a part of her. She has so much abundance, so much to gift us with, if we would only open our eyes and with our attention, pay attention and receive those gifts and give them back by finding more joy and love in our hearts. Let that be something that we can cultivate to help Mother Earth. I'm going to end with a poem that I love from Mary Oliver, Sleeping in the Forest. I thought the earth remembered me. She took me back so tenderly, arranging her dark skirts, her pockets full of lichens and seeds. I slept as never before, a stone on the riverbed, nothing between me and the white fire of the stars, but my thoughts. And they floated light as moths among the branches of the perfect trees. All night, I heard the small kingdoms breathing around me, the insects and the birds who do their work in the darkness. All night, I rose and fell, as if in water, grappling with a luminous doom. By morning, I had vanished at least a dozen times into something better. This water, you can continue to drink throughout the day. You can share it with those you love, or offer some to the earth or to your plants. And I invite you to not have this ritual just be something that happens once in a while, but become a part of your daily life. It doesn't need to be this extensive, but every now and then to just have a glass of water, to just feel that gratitude for it. You can just keep it simple, just thank you, or you speak into the water a prayer or blessing for yourself that you have, and just connect to it so that it just doesn't become a commodity. It's something that is blessing you, blessing your life. We can all do this, and the more that we do it, the more that we do bring change to the world by changing our view, having more of a right view, a sacred view of the world. Thank you. So I'm going to end with chanting Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, which I always do 9 times. This mantra means, may all beings everywhere be peaceful and happy. It's a way of dedicating the merit and the goodness from our time together to the whole creation. Because really that's what it's about. It's not just, for ourselves, but it's for everyone. This work that we do. When we do any work, spiritual work, we're changing our ancestral patterns. We're changing, the vibration of the planet. And it's really remarkable and special that we're doing it all together, 1,000 of us from around the world. So, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be peaceful and happy. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you so much. So grateful to all of you for sharing this experience. So Pixie, hi, you're in Australia and it must be very early in the morning or late in the night. Thank you so much for joining me for this ritual. There's so many different ways that we could do it, and this is just something that an offering that I really enjoy and love. And I think the ultimate goal, what did that mantra at the end meant? The mantra meant, may all beings everywhere be peaceful and happy. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Sukha is happiness. Dukkha is suffering. The Buddha spoke about dukkha, which was unsatisfactoriness or suffering. Sukha is the opposite of that. satisfaction, happiness. So I'm so grateful to you, and I hope your water continues to bless you, and that you continue to bless you. And remember, the water is within your own being. You know, we really need to be loving and kind to ourselves. My new course that I've been developing for the last 100 years, that will be done one at some point, is about self-love. And that phrase just has become so cliche and overused. And so, at least for myself, I'm trying to make it something sacred again, because I think it's really important. And it's not just important for us, I mean, it is, of course, important for us, but our self-love also benefits the planet. And Young Pueblo, some of you may know him. That's his pen name. He's an author and a poet. He says, I forget the phrase, I think it's, your self-love is medicine for the earth, he says. And it's funny, somebody posted that in my circle, but I had just written that in my course the day before, and so I think it's such a beautiful message and so true. When we love ourselves, when we honor our own being, that really does benefit the earth. And that's something that the mamos, who have really just taught me so much, I'm so grateful to them, that they have shared. The way we treat the earth is the way we treat ourselves. The way we treat ourselves is the way we treat the earth. It's not separate. We're not compartmentalized. You know what I mean? Everything's so interconnected. So it's really important to do our best to undo those wrong perceptions of ourselves, or those hurtful ways that we talk to ourselves, and to learn to speak to ourselves, to the waters in our body, to the earth of our body, to our heart, with love, with kindness and respect. And in my course, I talk about this, but reverence and respect are very deeply connected. When you have a sense of reverence for something, you really have a respect for it. If you have like a holy book, for example, you probably don't just like throw it around. When we have something that we have a sense of reverence for, we treat it with respect. In the same way, when we have a sense of reverence for this earth, we'll treat it with more respect. Likewise, the same is the true for us. When we realize that this being is a mystery, I don't understand it. Just like I don't understand so many things on this planet, like what I started talking about in terms of, all of these sacred places on the earth, like the pyramids and Chichen Itza, Angkor Wat, places that we don't really understand how these things came to be, and with perfect alignment with astronomical events. There are incredible mysteries in this world. And if we just reduce everything to a Google search, then we kind of kill that. So we need to revive that auspiciousness, that sense of auspiciousness, that there's something going on here that is really incredible, and I don't understand it. All I can do really is to bow down, essentially. Namo, which I sing in my invocation. It means to bow down, to honor. And I think that that is something that the earth would appreciate if we would just bow down. Thich Nhat Hanh has a beautiful practice called touching the earth. It's one of my favorite practices that he offers, that I learned from him when I was a teenager, actually. And it involves repeating certain phrases and bowing down onto the earth and feeling the earth, and that is just, there's something so beautiful about that. The earth, our mother, to be able to connect to her. One more practice I'll offer to you and share with you before we go, that you might like to try now that the spring is coming, at least up in the northern hemisphere, is that we need to develop, I think, a relationship with the earth that is personal. In the Bhakti Yoga tradition, which is where a lot of the singing of mantras and chanting comes from. Bhakti Yoga is the path of love and devotion. It's about having a personal relationship with the divine, however you conceive of that, with spirit, with the universe, whatever that means to you. And in the same way, I feel like it's the same with nature. So something a practice that I think can be really powerful, which may feel a bit strange at first, but just offering it to you, something to try, is to go out and lie down on the earth. You can put a blanket down or something, just lie on the earth, and I mean, you can do it on the floor too, but it's powerful on the earth. And you just, kind of put your head in your hands, you just rest your head, and then you talk to the earth. You actually speak to the earth, you whisper to the earth, you tell her everything that's in your heart. and you might feel silly doing it, but that doesn't matter. Just do it anyway. You just talk to the earth. Mother Earth, I'm freaked out, you know. My heart is in pain and I don't know what to do about this situation. I feel really sad. I can't move on from this grief. I feel stuck. Whatever. You're a human being. So pour your heart out to your mother, Mother Earth. Tell her, talk to her. And then after, talk to her like this, you can turn your head to the side and put your ear to the earth and just listen to what she has to say. She might have something to say to you, so you can listen. So just offering that as a practice to try, something to experiment with. I think the whole idea is just to make it personal and to develop that personal relationship where we really feel a sense of reverence and respect for our planet and also for ourselves. So anyway, and tomorrow, World Water Day, let's really have that prayer that water may be freely available to all, safe, healthy water, and that the 2 billion people that do not have that they may have that. Everyone should have access to clean water. Everybody. People should not be dying around the world from unsafe water. I read a statistic that said that more people die from diseases from unsafe water than war or violence, which is hard to believe, but that's a serious situation. So may all of our efforts also benefit on the ground, the water crisis that is happening on our planet. We learn to really become water protectors and take care of the water, which is alive. It has a consciousness, it has a spirit. So anyway, thank you so much. I was so grateful to be able to do this with you and to be here with you. I haven't listed another live session, my next live session yet, but I will at some point. I'm just sitting to decide what I'd like to do it on. I'm always open to your feedback if there's something that you would like me to explore. I have a couple of things in mind. And, right, I wanted to let you know that I've mentioned it in the past, but the app is beta testing a mentoring, one-to-one mentoring. It's only for North America at the moment, but I've been doing it for a couple of months, and it's been really wonderful to connect individually with people. The philosophy of my work is spiritual friendship. That's what I call it, which is actually a Buddhist phrase, Kalyana Mitra. It means spiritual friendship. And in my sessions, I just draw on the different modalities and healing practices that I've studied over the years and offer my presence, spiritual friendship with you. So I just added some new dates for April, so you're welcome to check that out. You can find it on my profile. And if you would like to, there's a circle on the app that I actually didn't start. Thank you to Karen, who did start it. It's called Friends of Carrie Grossman. And I just became an admin in my own circle, which was very exciting. I feel like grown up or something. I just facilitated my first meditation on there. So that was really exciting. But I really love the circle so much. And I really try to be present in it and to share and to read everything that people post. And I really feel like it's meant to be a space where everybody is welcome. Everybody is equal. That's what a circle is. Everybody is equal. And we are all just being supports for one another on the path. So you're welcome to join, and everybody is welcome. It's really interesting. I just wanted to mention briefly that, sometimes we have all these different things. We have social media, we have all these places to connect online. And I think like the circles on Insight Timer are so wonderful. And as I was mentioning the other day in my circle, I just shared something about how I think sometimes a circle or a place, where we go, where there's a group of people, can sometimes bring up things. Everything in life is a mirror reflecting back something to us. And sometimes we may have wounds, from our early childhood or growing up, feeling of not belonging or feeling excluded. I know myself, if I were in a group that wasn't my own, I might feel shy to share, to post things. I might feel like, what if I say the wrong thing? Or what if I don't know anything about the subject? I can't say anything about it. Or what if I'm judged? Or, whatever. We often fear what other people think. And I think it's a really wonderful intention to create spaces like circles where everyone is welcome, where it's an atmosphere of acceptance, where we can learn to try to work with some of that stuff and go beyond it or challenge ourselves, or even just be there in presence, not even having to share anything at all. But I just wanted to acknowledge that, because I do think that sometimes, we all have different wounds. For some people, they don't think anything of it. Someone may just post and not think anything. Doesn't create an issue for them. Whereas for other people, it may be really scary, to share. I know for myself, you may find it hard to believe because here I am with 1,000 of you doing all of this. But as I've shared before, I am really shy, and I remember, I mean, even when I was in graduate school, when I would like want to raise my hand to make a comment or to share something, my heart would be racing, beating so hard. Sometimes I would feel like my heart's going to come out of my chest because I'd be so scared that what if I didn't come out right, or what if I said the wrong thing, or it wasn't rational, but this fear would be there that I don't want people, to put their attention on me. So I would be so afraid. If anybody had told me, oh, you're going to be, out in public doing these programs and singing in front of lots of people, and I would have never believed that because it would have seemed absolutely impossible. But, with love, we can go beyond our fears. And for me, to be able to be here with you, to be able to talk about these things, to be able to share this time, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about all of us together. And that helps to uproot fear from the source, you know? And so I just extend that to you and wanted to just mention that, um, as far as the circles go. And I will contemplate my next live and post it sometime soon. And just please know how much I appreciate you and all of your donations. Um, it really means the world to me. There's a lot of lives, and I'm sure many of us go on different lives. And when you make a donation to support my work, it really means a lot, and it really does help. Um, these are crazy times, and um, being an artist, it's hard to know. A lot of people are in this similar situation where the world has changed, and so I just am really grateful to you for your support, and mostly for your support just being here and taking an interest in these themes and doing this work together. I can't think of anything more important, especially at this time in the world. So all of my love to you, all of my gratitude to you. Thank you so much for being here and for joining your heart with mine. And I hope that whatever you need, it may come to you today, or that you may see the signs. Sometimes, like, a meditation or a practice is like a seed planted, and in that moment, we don't necessarily see the benefit. Just like in meditation, sometimes meditation is just completely miserable. You're itchy, you're hungry, you just want to get up, you're irritated, or like I am. Maybe I'm projecting, that's my experience. But that doesn't mean it's not having a benefit. Sometimes the benefits reveal themselves later. We have less reactivity towards something that we might react to, or we may see some synchronicities. So my prayer, my hope is that all of us here together may receive those synchronicities from our lives and from nature and from things that just show us we're on the path, the right path, towards deeper love and respect for ourselves and whatever we may need in our lives. So, cheers. Happy holy water to you. Thank you so much. Lots of love to you.